They used to light up red carpets with faces the world adored, but what you're about to see will shock you. These celebrities pushed cosmetic surgery so far that even their closest friends couldn't recognize them, and the stories behind these transformations are darker than you think. You won't believe who's coming up at number 5. Stay with us. Jocelyn Wildenstein, the $2 billion Catwoman. Jocelyn Wildenstein didn't start as a cautionary tale. She started as a Swiss socialite who married one of the richest art dealers in the world. But by the time their divorce made headlines, she'd become something the tabloids called Catwoman. Her transformation began in the 1990s during a crumbling marriage to Alec Wildenstein. Some say she was trying to look more feline to please her husband, who loved big cats. Others whisper it was revenge. The procedure started small, a little lift here, some work there. But then came the eye surgeries that pulled her features into an almost feline shape, the cheek implants that jutted out like shelves, the lip work that left her mouth permanently pursed. Each surgery cost hundreds of thousands. Each one took her further from the woman she used to be. During their bitter divorce, Alec claimed she'd spent $4 million on cosmetic surgery. The court documents revealed shopping sprees that included plastic surgery like most people buy groceries. But here's what the tabloids missed. Jocelyn wasn't just chasing beauty. She was chasing control in a marriage that was falling apart. Today, she insists she's only had eye surgery and lip work. She denies the more extreme procedures, but photographs don't lie. The woman who once graced Swiss high society now lives as a recluse in New York, her face frozen in permanent surprise. Mickey Rourke, when boxing breaks more than bones. Mickey Rourke was Hollywood royalty in the 1980s. Movies like 9½ Weeks made him one of the most sought-after leading men of his generation. But Mickey had a problem with staying still, with keeping his pretty face pretty. In 1991, at the peak of his career, he walked away from Hollywood to become a professional boxer. Not for a movie role, for real. The decision seemed insane to everyone around him. You don't leave a multi-million-dollar film career to get punched in the face for money. For 6 years, he fought and got hit a lot. His nose was broken twice, his cheekbones fractured, his face became a roadmap of violence. When he tried to return to acting in the late 90s, casting directors didn't recognize him. The damage from boxing had changed his features so dramatically, he couldn't get hired for leading man roles anymore. That's when the surgeries began. Mickey went under the knife trying to reconstruct what boxing had destroyed. Nose jobs to fix the breaks, work on his cheekbones to repair fractures, procedures to lift skin that had been battered for years. But boxing damage isn't like normal aging. When bones heal wrong, surgery can only do so much. Each procedure seemed to make things worse. His face began to look puffy, unnatural. The sharp jawline that made him famous became soft and rounded. But here's where Mickey's story takes an unexpected turn. In 2008, director Darren Aronofsky cast him in The Wrestler, not despite his damaged face, but because of it. The role earned him an Oscar nomination and reminded Hollywood why they'd fallen in love with Mickey Rourke in the first place. Still, when you look at Mickey today, you're seeing the ghost of what boxing took away and what desperate attempts to fix it made worse. Donatella Versace, fashion's frozen face. In the world of high fashion, image isn't just everything. It's the only thing. Donatella Versace understood this better than most. As creative director of one of fashion's most powerful houses, she lived under microscopic scrutiny every single day. The transformation happened slowly at first. A little Botox to smooth lines, some fillers to plump lips, standard procedure in Milan's fashion circles. But somewhere in the early 2000s, something shifted. The procedures became more frequent, more extreme. Her lips began to look almost inflated. Her cheekbones became sharp enough to cut glass. Her skin, pulled tight from years of treatments, took on an almost waxy quality. The fashion world whispered, but carefully. This was Donatella Versace. You don't criticize a woman who can make or break careers with a single phone call. But the whispers grew louder when she started appearing at fashion weeks looking less like herself. Photographers had to work harder to capture her good angles. The pressure was unimaginable. Every fashion week, every red carpet was a performance. In a world where 20-something models are considered aging out at 25, how do you stay relevant at 50? At 60? You fight time with everything you've got, even if it means losing yourself in the process. Here's what makes Donatella's story different. She never stopped working, never retreated from public life. She faced the cameras head-on. Maybe that's courage. Maybe it's tragedy. Maybe it's both. The irony is devastating. the woman who dressed the most beautiful people in the world, became trapped in her own pursuit of perfection. Hang Myoku, the most extreme case ever documented. What you're about to hear is the most shocking story on this entire list. It happened to an ordinary woman in South Korea whose obsession led to an act so desperate it defies belief. Hang Myoku was a model in the 1960s, not a supermodel, just a working model in Seoul who was considered quite beautiful. But Hang became obsessed with maintaining her appearance. She started getting plastic surgery in her 20s. Small procedures at first, then bigger ones. By her 40s, she'd had so much work done that doctors in Korea refused to treat her anymore. They told her she'd reached the limit of what surgery could accomplish safely. But Hang couldn't stop. When Korean doctors refused to help her, she went to Japan. When Japanese doctors turned her away, she found black market practitioners willing to inject her with silicone. Even that wasn't enough. When she ran out of money and couldn't afford procedures, Hang made a decision that still horrifies medical professionals. She began injecting her own face with cooking oil. This woman was so desperate to continue modifying her appearance that she filled syringes with cooking oil and injected it directly into her face. The results were catastrophic. Her face swelled to enormous proportions. The oil created massive, painful lumps under her skin. Infections set in. Her features became so distorted, she was barely recognizable as human. When her story broke in Korean media, the images shocked the world. Doctors eventually performed multiple surgeries to remove as much oil as they could, but the damage was largely irreversible. Hang's face remains severely disfigured to this day. Her case became a turning point in how South Korea approaches cosmetic surgery. New regulations were put in place. Mental health screenings became mandatory. But for Hang, it was too late. She'd crossed a line that no amount of medical intervention could uncross. Carrot Top. From comedian to unrecognizable, Scott Thompson, better known as Carrot Top, built his career on being the skinny, goofy redhead with prop comedy and self-deprecating humor. For years, he was the guy other comedians made fun of. The prop comic who got booked for corporate gigs while real comedians looked down on him. But Carrot Top was laughing all the way to the bank. His Vegas residency was making him millions. He was successful by every measure that mattered, except one. He hated how he looked. Somewhere in the early 2000s, Carrot Top discovered the gym, and steroids, and plastic surgery. What happened next was a transformation so extreme that longtime fans couldn't believe their eyes. The skinny comedian bulked up to nearly 200 pounds of solid muscle. His naturally pale, freckled skin became spray-tanned to an unnatural orange. His wild red hair was styled to perfection. But the surgeries were what really changed everything. Facelifts that pulled his features tight. Eye work that made him look perpetually surprised. So much Botox that his expressions became frozen. The prop comic who'd built his career on animated facial expressions couldn't move his face anymore. Fans started coming to his shows not to laugh with him, but to stare at what he'd become. The transformation was so shocking, it became the story, overshadowing his actual comedy. Here's what makes Carrot Top's story particularly sad. He was already successful, already making millions, already had a devoted fan base who loved him exactly as he was. But in a culture that constantly tells us we're not good enough, even success couldn't protect him from his own insecurities. The man who made a living making people laugh stopped being able to laugh at himself. Today, Carrot Top still performs in Vegas, but the audiences are different now. They're not coming for the comedy. They're coming for the freak show. And deep down, he knows it. Igor and Grichka Bogdanov, the synchronized transformation. In the world of bizarre plastic surgery, transformations, few stories are as strange as the French Bogdanov twins. Igor and Grichka weren't always known for their appearance. In the 1980s, they were respected television presenters and theoretical physicists who hosted popular science shows in France. They were handsome men with sharp features and intelligent eyes. They had PhDs and published papers in academic journals. But sometime in the 1990s, something changed. The brothers began getting plastic surgery, and they seemed to coordinate their procedures so they would continue to look identical. What followed was one of the most bizarre transformations in modern history. Over 2 decades, the Bogdanov brothers underwent countless procedures. Their cheekbones were built up until they protruded like mountain ridges. Their chins were extended into points. Their lips were inflated to enormous proportions. But the most disturbing part wasn't any individual procedure. It was how synchronized everything was. Whatever Igor got, Grichka got too. The brothers always denied having extensive plastic surgery. They claimed their changes were from experimental hormone treatments for medical research. No one believed them. The changes were too dramatic, too obviously surgical, too perfectly matched. As their faces became more distorted, their scientific credibility evaporated. Colleagues who'd once respected their work began questioning everything about them. The men who'd built careers on logic and reason had somehow lost both in their pursuit of physical perfection. In 2022, both brothers died within days of each other, reportedly from COVID-19 complications. They were 72 years old. In the end, they got what they'd always wanted. They remained identical until the very end. Rodrigo Alves, the human Ken doll. Rodrigo Alves spent over $650,000 trying to look like a Ken doll. That's not an estimate. It's what he calculated after more than 70 cosmetic procedures. Born in Brazil, Rodrigo was already attractive. But attractive wasn't enough. He wanted to look like a living toy. The transformation began with rhinoplasty. Then came abs sculpting, pec implants, jaw reconstruction. Each procedure designed to make him look more like the iconic Mattel doll. But plastic surgery became an addiction. He couldn't stop at good enough or even perfect. There was always one more thing to fix. The procedures piled up. Multiple nose jobs, countless Botox sessions, fillers everywhere, hair transplants, rib removal, procedures most people have never heard of. With each surgery, Rodrigo became more famous. He appeared on reality shows worldwide. Tabloids followed his every procedure. But fame came with pressure. The more famous he became for his appearance, the more pressure he felt to keep changing, keep pushing boundaries. Some procedures went wrong. His nose, rebuilt so many times, began to collapse. Infections set in. Complications required emergency surgeries that undid months of progress. In 2018, Rodrigo announced he was transitioning and would now be known as Roddy. The Ken doll was becoming Barbie, but the surgeries didn't stop. If anything, they accelerated. Breast implants, facial feminization, procedures to create a more feminine silhouette. Today, Roddy continues documenting every procedure on social media. Each surgery is photographed and shared with hundreds of thousands of followers who watch this real-time transformation with fascination and horror. The question that haunts Roddy's story is simple. When do you stop? After $650,000? After 70 procedures? When doctors refuse to treat you? For Roddy, the answer seems to be never. Amanda Lepore, the living doll. Amanda Lepore didn't start life as Amanda. She started as Armand, a boy in New Jersey who knew something wasn't right. By her teens, she'd begun transitioning. But Amanda didn't want to just become a woman. She wanted to become a fantasy, a living work of art. Over 3 decades, Amanda underwent countless surgeries. Breast implants that kept getting bigger. Hip implants for an hourglass figure. Rib removal for an impossibly tiny waist. Facial feminization surgery that sculpted doll-like features. Her lips were inflated to cartoonish proportions. Her cheekbones built up until they jutted like shelves. Her skin pulled so tight it looked like porcelain. The cost? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more. But here's what makes Amanda different. She achieved exactly what she set out to achieve. She became a muse to photographers and fashion designers worldwide, featured in magazines, galleries, museums. She turned her extreme appearance into a career. In New York's underground club scene, Amanda became royalty, the ultimate club kid, the living embodiment of a culture celebrating excess and transformation. But success came with a price. The surgeries became addictive. Each procedure made her more famous, more photographed, more celebrated. Soon, she couldn't stop, even when doctors warned her, even when procedures went wrong, even when her body started breaking down. Today, Amanda still appears at clubs worldwide, still celebrated in fashion circles, still treated like the living work of art she set out to become. But late at night, when the makeup comes off and cameras stop flashing, is she happy with what she sees? Joan Rivers, the price of staying relevant. Joan Rivers was 81 when she died on an operating table during what was supposed to be routine endoscopy. She wasn't there for cosmetic surgery that day. She was there because her voice was getting hoarse, and at 81, she was still performing 300 shows a year. But Joan's relationship with cosmetic surgery had defined her career for decades. She was one of the first celebrities to be completely open about her procedures. While other stars denied getting work done, Joan made jokes about it. "I've had so much plastic surgery," she once said. "When I die, they will donate my body to Tupperware." The jokes were funny, but they masked a deeper truth. In a business that worships youth, Joan fought aging with every weapon available. Facelifts, eye work, neck tucks, Botox, fillers. Joan tried it all. She was honest about it in a revolutionary way for her generation, but the procedures took their toll. By her 70s, Joan's face had the tight, pulled look of too much work. Her expressions were limited by Botox. Her smile looked painful. Still, she kept working, kept performing, kept making people laugh even as her face became a reminder of the price of staying relevant past retirement age. The day she died, Joan was still hustling, still trying to solve problems that might hurt her career, still fighting the battles that had defined her professional life. She died the way she lived, refusing to go quietly, refusing to give up, refusing to let age win without a fight. The warning: if you've made it this far, you've seen what happens when the pursuit of beauty becomes obsession, when self-improvement turns into self-destruction. Every person on this list started the same way, with a small procedure, a minor fix, a simple desire to look a little better. None of them planned to end up unrecognizable. They all thought they could stop after just one more surgery. But plastic surgery can be addictive. Each procedure changes your face in ways that require other procedures to balance out. Fix one thing, and suddenly something else looks wrong. If you're considering cosmetic surgery, learn from these stories. Research your surgeon extensively. Get multiple opinions. Be honest about your motivations. Ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for everyone else? Because once you start changing your face to please other people, you might never find your way back to who you used to be. The saddest part isn't how these people look now. It's that somewhere underneath all the procedures is the person they used to be. And that person was already beautiful. What shocked you most about these transformations? Share your thoughts below. Your story might help someone else make a better decision. Hit that subscribe button if this made you think twice about the pressure to look perfect. We need more people questioning what society tells us about beauty.